So Mariam is founder and CEO of Softer. We've heard quite a bit about Softer already today. I wouldn't say I was a Softer expert, but Max actually taught it a little bit on our Creative Accelerator, as I mentioned, and I love it because you just get to see that such speedy response of building, like you can just take something and create it in like, a few hours if you're new to it, or frankly, half an hour if you're very, very good at it. And I think that's wonderful. No pressure today, by the way, Mariam. You don't have to operate that quickly.
I have a very high bar set by you now.
But yeah, Mariam's going to tell us a bit about Softer, about building very quickly, but also give us a bit of a live demo, because one thing I really want people to take away from today is to see this stuff in action. Because I think if you've not played with no-code tools, you hear of visual development and you hear of no-code, but until you actually see it, I think it's very, very sort of difficult to understand how it might look. So with that said, I might pass over to you, Mariam, if you're ready to go.
Yeah, thank you, Olim. Thank you so much. And excited to be here as well. Hope you can hear me well and it doesn't interrupt in between. Cool. So I'm going to start with, let me know if you can't hear me, because I don't know what's happening on the other side. But I'm going to share my screen. I'll do a short demo, intro about Softer, what Softer is, what you can build with it, and then also jump right away into building. Let me share my screen first. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So let me share that first. So I'm gonna do a very short summary of what Softer is. So basically with Softer, we are trying to build the easiest no-code platform for businesses and entrepreneurs to build custom web apps from Airtable. And easiest, why easiest? Because so far the community has coined that word about Softer, but yeah, hopefully that is the case. And as we all know, there is shortage of developers across the entire world, right? And there's so many people who are non-technical, but they still want to build businesses. They still want to build apps and internal tooling within their companies. So there's only 27 million developers in the world, and we want to enable all the other 1 billion users and plus 1 billion plus users to build businesses and to become app creators. The approach we have taken that is really different to Softer compared to many other no-code platforms. Probably some of you already have used many other no-code platforms. We have taken a fundamentally different approach. So on one hand, currently you see all of the website building tools, right? Where there is tools like Wix, Squarespace, and on the other spectrum, there's tools like Bubble, Webflow, which are pretty powerful at the same time. However, extremely difficult and technical to use for a person who has average Excel skills, right? They don't know any technology, or they're not coming from design background. So the way we have basically approached building an entire application is, instead of using pixel level and element level approach, but rather taking the Lego building concept. So imagine every child can build a Lego using the Lego bricks. And similarly, we have abstracted away some of the more common components like authentication or payments into reusable building blocks, which we call them building blocks. And then someone can easily and simply just assemble them together, change layout, design, customize the app according to their needs, and then they get their software up and running within 30 minutes. I'll jump into a demo very quickly as well, but just very high level. So with Softer, we want to give superpowers to business users plus all of the non-tech people, really. So there is really 4 main steps you have to perform to create an app within Softer. First, you have to connect your data, especially if you are building a web application, which in this case is the Airtable database. And then second, you build your app using different building blocks, pre-built, where you still can change the design, colors, etc. But it's all pre-built. That makes it so much easier and faster. And third, you can add authentication, payments, roles, and permissions to your app. And fourth, you just click publish, hit publish, and then your app is live. So far, the different types of apps that are being built in Softer. I mean, it's a horizontal platform. It's being used from creators, entrepreneurs to some of the Fortune 500 companies. And the use cases as well differ a lot, from websites, resource hubs, to online communities, marketplaces. And Max is one of the best examples of building an online community with Softer. And then also other types of apps, especially for businesses, like internal tooling, like sales CRMs, client portals, or external customer-facing applications. So some of the prolific makers that we all know probably are using software and they really love it. So someone like Ryan Hoover or the On Deck director or On Deck program director, KP. And in fact, I recently joined the On Deck second cohort. If some of you were there as well, I'm sure you have seen also other people using software. But what really excited me was that 1/3 of the entire cohort, which is about 100 people, was using software for their projects, which was really exciting to see. Because just also compared to many other tools, it's just so much easier to start with. And where we are heading is really software is a platform. So we want to build an ecosystem around software, which allows, which creates, first of all, also a new economy around it and allows everyone extend and create businesses also on top of software. So someone actually asked the question about Notion, whether they had in mind from the very beginning to create this platform. We actually have set out to build that entire ecosystem. And currently we are a no-code platform, but we want to give everyone access to, first of all, build up on top of software on the front end side. So building custom components and having something like an app component store marketplace where everyone can build stuff and sell potentially as well. And then the second portion, basically a way to reach this ecosystem, to build this ecosystem, is through a template marketplace, which I'm sure Sam can share a bit more information. One of our product person who is also sitting in the audience, because he has been also the one initiating all of this, is that basically we want to allow everyone who is building an application with software to set that application as a template as well in the marketplace, so everyone else can use, which also, as you can imagine, enables people even starting businesses with these templates on top of software, creating templates, selling as their kind of small business, and then potentially software earning some portion fee or something out of that, which is at the moment not even in the plan. And then the software experts, who we already have some people in our experts list who are the power users of software, who basically help create this entire ecosystem. So these are freelancers, agencies, etc., who are contributing to the entire ecosystem. And on software side, at the moment, as I mentioned, we use Airtable as a backend, but our goal is to really be a data agnostic, backend agnostic. So in the future, you will see software also be able to connect to Google Sheets, Notion, REST APIs, and a lot more other databases. And yeah, our goal is to have 1 million apps created on software by 2025. We are very optimistic we can reach this goal and very bullish on that. And we want to become the biggest ecosystem for building custom apps without code. So I'm going to jump into the building. Let me know if there is any questions in between. Also happy to answer questions while building. So let me know if there's something coming up. So first of all, this is the platform. So after I log in as a new user of software, I'm redirected to the dashboard where I can see all my applications, and I can create new applications either from scratch or using some of the existing templates we already offer. So all these templates so far are the templates we have created as software and offer this for free. So there are all these different types. As you can see, there's client portals, internal tools for especially businesses, dashboards, and then marketplaces, online communities, resource directors, and websites, more B2C types of applications. So for today, I'm going to show an example we have. I have used a template, but I'm going to build part of that template from scratch so you can understand how to build, let's say, a membership application with software within 30 minutes. So just quickly to show the app, how it functions. So we have a template called co-live, and what it does is basically lists all the co-living spaces. You can directly click on a specific list on a property, check out all the details. You can book a property for co-living purposes, can see who the owner is, and then can see other states nearby. Also, you can register as a guest to simply just book the apartment, but also you can become a host, which then allows you to list your own listing. So we're not going to go too much into details right now today because we just don't have the time. But for the purpose of this building, I have chosen that template, and now I have removed almost all the pages. And now I'm going to create from scratch like this entire homepage and the listing to show how you create something and connect to your backend, which is Airtable base in this case. And then also add a membership on top of that. So your users can log in and only then have access to these listings. Does that make sense? Should I, is there any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to take it as no. So let me just remove this.
Can
I'm
you hear me, Mariam? Sorry,
yes,
I had to
I can
unmute.
hear.
But no, we'll take questions in a wee bit. I'll let you know
Okay.
if any come up.
Yeah, let me know.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna then continue with building because I can't see anyone, I can't hear anyone. I'm gonna assume that's all fine. So yeah, so this is the editor. Once I open my editor, so the main cornerstone of software is the building block, as I described, like building block in a Lego. So you can see all the buildings blocks in this right-hand corner. So we have static and dynamic building blocks. Static are things like headers, hero sections, different layouts we offer, feature, etc. These are the typical website parts which are quite repetitive, and we have basically identified those and group them in different groups as reusable components. And then we have dynamic building blocks, which are the more interesting ones, which connect to your database, to your data. So in this case, these are things like custom forms. So you can submit your data back to Airtable, and you don't have to use external Typeform or Airtable forms, but you can have something that is embedded in your platform and you can brand it as your application. Then there is user accounts. So adding user account literally is just one click. I'll show it in a minute. And there is payments. So you can also have paywalls in your application. You can put paywall in front and people can pay to get access to a specific content, or they can pay to become members of your community, etc. So there is list layouts we offer, completely different types of lists, really like very nice layouts that you can use for different purposes. List details to navigate to a specific details page of a listing and then see more details. Table layouts, Kanban board, especially for companies, some teams want to have their own custom mini Kanban application. So that's very handy. And there's also charts as well. So you can nicely visualize all your data that you have in Airtable in the front end for either internal or external use cases. So that's in this essence what all the blocks represent. And then also one important thing is to mention that everything that is built with software is automatically responsive and looks great on all the other layouts. So that's exactly the reason that we went with these building blocks. So the way we have basically tried to optimize to really make NoCode accessible to a person with average tech skills or average Excel skills is we have tried to find the right balance between just enough customizability and enough constraints. So as you can see, there is lots of customizations. I'll show in a minute as I'm building that you can build your app, but then also on the other hand, there is lots of some constraints as well on the app. You can't just take the button and move it around. So there is some constraints, but this is exactly what our customers love because it just makes it so much simpler, difficult to break things, and so much quicker to build something that works well on all these other layouts. So I'm going to go then jump into building. So I'm going to create this first page, which has a header, then hero section to explain what the application is about, and then listing to show all the real estate listings, basically. So I'm going to add a new header. And then the way it works is basically on the right-hand side, you can change all the links, you can update information, change text, etc. So we'll just do it very quickly. I'm going to upload my logo, and then I'm going to remove some of the links, which I don't need links at this moment. I just need people to log in and have access to the app. So here, when I create the button, I could select what action does the button perform. So in this case, I'm going to open a page which opens the sign up form. But first, we need to create the sign up form. So let's add a new page, which is called sign up. And then, so here, I'm just going to drag and drop the dynamic sign up component from user accounts. So we have the sign up form here. Yeah, I'm going to add some background. I'm going to put some background colors to look it nice. I'm trying to not spend too much time on this because you can just go ahead with all the design and we can do it later. So now we have the sign up form created. So automatically it has all the business logic in it. And what happens is the application is smart enough to understand that now you have sign up blocks. And once you publish your application, your users will already be able to sign up. So you don't have to do anything else. And all your users, if they sign up, they're going to appear here automatically in the users table. So first let's go back. So let's configure that. So terms and conditions, terms and privacy service, I don't need that. And then I can also define what happens after sign up button is clicked. Then I want people to be redirected to the home page. For sign in, we can configure this later. And now if we'll navigate back to the overview homepage, I have this header here, which when someone clicks on the login, I'm going to open that page I just created. Sign up page. Okay, so now people should be able to click on the button and then be redirected to a sign up page. Now I'm going to add another header block. And then the background image to make it a bit nicer. So as you can see, once I change text, it immediately automatically changes in the other side as well. And then here I'm going to say explore spaces. I can also configure the buttons, etc. In this case, it's going to it's going to scroll to this other section, which I still need to create. So now I'm going to add a listing block, which basically connects to my Airtable base and shows all of the different list apartments. So first of all, before we do that, let's go back to the Airtable base that we already have. So every template that we have, the web app templates, they come in with pre-built Airtable bases already, so that it's easier for people to just copy that, kickstart their application building from that. So in this case, I already have all the apartments created. So there is all the images, the apartment has listing name, listing description, etc., etc. And then there is hosts. So these are kind of pre-built. We are not going to use this, but for this purpose, I'm just going to use the apartments list. And then let's navigate back, add a new listing block for more dynamic components. So this is kind of the default version. Now what I need to do is, because I need to connect my front end to the back end, which is the Airtable, I'm going to have to basically set up my Airtable. So that's just two steps. First, I need to enter my API key, which is something you can typically find in your Airtable. When you navigate to your My Accounts page, you will see the API key here. For a moment, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen just to copy that key and then enter into my API key. Okay, so now I'm on the second page. I entered the API key and now I need to copy the base. So we simply can just copy the base from this button and then go back, and then here from here select co-live template. So finished. That's really it. So now I have my Airtable connected, and what I need to do is select the base here. And then in my base, I had these three different tables. I'm going to select Airtable, apartments. And then I don't need to configure all of the others. I'm going to show 9 items per page. And yeah, so there is possibility to configure quite powerful filters, conditional filters, things like, instead of showing all the items from this table, show only, for example, the tasks that are assigned to me, or basically you can show tasks based on different conditions. But at this moment, we're going to leave that. So there is now 2 inline filters. The inline filters are what you see on the left side. I'm going to remove one of those and then just configure one so that I can filter this list. The end user can filter the list by apartment, I guess, by bedroom. So for a moment, I'm going to remove the styling option, the border, just to make it nicer. And then, so essentially I have now the filter. What I need to do is Okay, so the next step, yeah, actually, we also want to define a search bar and by which field we want to search the application, all of these fields through. So I'm gonna select bedroom, listing name, listing description. I think that's enough. And then, so simply I have to just map all of my Airtable base items to the front end, whatever I really want to show to the user. So in this case, I want to show the listing image, in this case, thumbnail. And then I'll show the listing location. As a heading, I want to show listing name. So by the way, all these fields that I'm just mapping, you can additionally add any fields, as many fields as you like, as many types as you like. So divider, I'm going to remove this for now and have another text below which shows the price. Monthly listing price. Okay, I think that's good enough. So I can, of course, go and do some more designing, but at this moment, I don't think that's really necessary. This is just really to show the building. And then as a tag, I'm going to show the bedrooms. So then whenever someone makes a search, they are also nicely reflected in here. Okay, so I'm also going to make the image a bit smaller on the card. Okay, I think we have the first version now. So as a next step, so what I'm going to do is, okay, first of all, let's just publish this. So you just click on the publish button, publish. Software automatically gives you a subdomain to start with. So your app is already live. You can just click this button and this is your custom app now. So I have already my header, like the page already with all of the list details. Doesn't look perfect, but still I can continue designing it afterwards. So what I want to do is, first of all, when someone is not logged in, I just want to show them this information and not show the listing, right? And then as a next step, I want to, once they are logged in, I want to show them only this area, the listings. So in order to do that, we have to configure visibility rules. What that means is every user, whether it's logged in or not logged in, they can use the same app, but they can have completely different experiences. So in this case, I'm going to define that this header is, so there is this visibility rule icon here. I'm going to say this header is only visible to the non-logged in users. And as you see, there is an icon appearing here, which also shows what is this for, which user group can have access to that. Now, the next step, I'm going to duplicate that one, the same header, and just change the visibility rule to logged in user. And I'm going to change this as well. Instead of, because as a logged in user, I don't need to see the login button anymore. I'm going to remove that. And instead, I'll show a link which says explore spaces. Or actually, let's show browse hosts, the current hosts that we have in the application listed. And then it is going to open, we already have a page copied from a template, so I'm just going to open that. And then as a next step, I'm going to show the user profile. So that is basically enabling me to see this my profile icon, which then you can define what happens after I click on my icon, my profile icon. So it at least gives you the possibility to sign out. And then also I'm going to add a button which says add listing, which is also another action I can perform, let's say, as a logged in user. So in this case, because I also have a page created from a template, I'm just going to link that. Okay, I think we have now the first header already designed for non-logged in users, and then this one is for logged in users. So also this area, which is the hero, I only want to show it to the non-logged in users. And then when they are logged in, only then I'll show this area. Okay, so I think we have kind of done, now we can check whether it's working. Cool. So as you can see, as a non-logged in user, I can't see the other area, right? The listing. So I'm only seeing the header, this area, and the CTA. So once I log in this case, so the sign up page also comes in. I'm going to log in as a new user. And once I sign up, as you see, the header is different. So I don't see the login button. Instead, I'm only seeing what I just added and made available for this user. I can see the sign out link. I can add a listing because we have the previous page from a template. I can browse all the hosts. So this is another page that was created in the template I copied. And now this is the listing page we just created. So, so basically we just created a membership on top of this simple page, right? So now let's navigate back to software. And then when we go back to this users page, we will see this new user created in live environment. Okay, cool. So now let's navigate back to the home page. And we have the sign up page. And what we also want to do is we want to click on a specific item and then potentially show all the details of the listing, right? Because now, because I copied from a template, I have the listing detail page, which in essence also uses these different blocks to showcase some more information about the template, about the listing, sorry. So I'm going to go back to homepage and just connect these cards to that listing detail page. So essentially, instead of creating hundreds of details pages, so in this case, because it's all of the dynamic application what software makes out of that, you just create one template page, which is called listing details page, and then you connect these cards to that template. So in this case, I'm going to scroll till the end, which says on click on the listing. I'm going to be defining what happens when someone clicks on a card. In this case, it does nothing, but we are going to open a page, and the page is going to be the listing detail, which is already created. So now let's publish. Look at this again. So I have my listing. Now I can click on a specific listing item, see all the details. This was already pre-created, so we didn't spend time on creating, but I can book something. I can see all the like the owner who created this listing, etc. Yeah, so I guess that's it. I don't know if there is some more time to share some more information, or I mean, this is basically what it shows. Essentially, what we just did is we created the homepage. We then created complete custom experiences for logged in, non-logged in users. We added a membership on top. Maybe one more thing to mention here is that you can also potentially create different user groups and permissions. This is the more kind of powerful functionality that software offers out of box. So you can create different user groups outside the logged in and non-logged in users. Let's say you're running a company and you have within a team, you want to create a task management, project management application. You can have managers and employees. So the managers could be one user group, which then have a role manager or maybe have some other criteria. And then your employees is a different group. And then you can define different roles, and each role can log in into the app and see some portions of the page or see other parts. Also, what you can do is you can also allow people to update information from the front end. So that's also one critical thing which I didn't show, is that compared to many other no-code platforms, you don't get this out of the box, is that when you go to list detail, so listing details page, you can simply allow people updating any information on the front end, which goes back to Airtable directly. Actually, we can just do that. So let's go to this edit icon. So we click on the edit icon, and then we have to say allow users to edit. We just enable the toggle, and then we are going to allow this. So right now it doesn't automatically will allow all the logged in users to get access and edit. So let's just check if that works. So it doesn't. I need to configure permission rules now. So what basically I'm doing is I have now user group called logged in user, and I'm going to create edit permission and allow non-logged in users to not be able to edit the application. But once someone is logged in, then they can edit the list details. Of course, conceptually, it doesn't make sense. Potentially, it should be only the owners who are allowed to edit. You can define also owner group and then allow that level of flexibility. But just for a showcase, we can allow logged in users to edit now. Yeah, so I'm going to say the logged in user editing listing details. And I'm going to here define which Airtable base and which table they can edit. In this case, it's Airtable, and you can even define field level permissions of which fields can one user edit and which fields can the other user not edit. So in this case, I'm going to say all the fields are editable for logged in user, create permission. So as now we have the permission, and in this case, once I publish, I should be able to edit because now I'm logged in user. When I refresh the page, yeah, for some reason this doesn't populate. Let me add a new blog. I think we might have the old blog here. So I'm just gonna add a new blog, then map it again to co-live template. Essentially what I'm doing is creating this page again, because I think we're using an old blog, which doesn't have the edit functionality. So this is the, let's say the listing name, then image gallery. So all the images. Okay, so that wasn't.
Mariam, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
We're probably going to need to move on to Q&A fairly soon. I'm afraid
Yeah.
we're running a wee bit behind, but I'm just amazed at what you've built in 15 minutes, frankly.
I think I'm
incredible.
going to be done in just 2 minutes. Let me just publish
Cool.
now. So I didn't configure everything, but now we should have it, the new version of the blog. And yeah, I think I'm struggling to, yeah, I think I have configured something wrong. But basically what I wanted to show was that when you define a specific rule for a specific user, then they'll see this edit icon. And once you click on the edit icon, it's going to pop up a form where you can edit all the information, and it's right away immediately updated in your Airtable. So it's two-way sync, also two-way interactive applications you're building. Yeah, I think that's in essence, that's it really. Happy to answer any questions. I think it's
Can you hear me okay?
easier. Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you so much. I'm a novice at software, but it's just amazing to see what you can do so quickly. Max sort of, testified to this earlier on, but I just love that, you can take these sort of pre-built elements and just string them together into this, into basically a web app, which is just wonderful. We're short on time on questions, again, I'm afraid. And you are the last speaker before lunch, which is always a difficult gig.
Yeah, people are hungry.
But let me get, there's some really good questions in here again. So let me just try and fire through a few of them. What's your integration strategy? And I guess the second part of this actually is that, are you fully dependent on Airtable, for what you're doing?
So at the moment, Airtable is the only backend we have. I mean, what people are doing as well, some people are creating just websites, landing pages, which doesn't require Airtable. And then another option is people are creating applications where, for example, their users are not stored in Airtable, but just on software. But in general, to create web applications, yes, currently Airtable is used as a backend, but we are already at the moment working on other backend integrations as well. As I mentioned, Google Sheets and REST APIs are the next.
Okay, and this question, this is a little further down the upvote. This is one that comes up all the time. I talk to people about this, and it's something we really need to think about as a community. And when we're building products and thinking about no-code things. But what are the privacy and security considerations no-coders should be aware of when using Airtable or Google Sheets? So I guess any kind of database like that instead of an API.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think, any security issues that you might face, you face while using Airtable, you already face those issues, right? So software doesn't expose anything externally. It just connects to the API that Airtable provides using your API key. One other aspect is that sometimes people store their users and passwords in Airtable, which obviously isn't secure. So what we are trying, the way we are overcoming that is actually people store their user emails and the login credentials in software. And in software, it's all encrypted, so they don't see their passwords, etc. No one sees that. And they only store the additional information about users in their Airtable basis. So that way they have at least secure way for all these users to sign up and get access to the data.
I think Bubble do the same thing where they kind of almost force you to, you can't set up a password storage sort of database because that would just be a terrible, terrible idea, in no code or code. So, forcing it to be encrypted is really, really.
Yeah, but as long as someone gets access to your direct Airtable, then that's an issue. Unless you have, if you have any sensible data in Airtable. But again, when you build an application in the front end, that is exactly one of the problems that software solves, right? Airtable or any other backend is just a database. So anyone who gets access to your raw data, that's always dangerous. So if you have an application in the front, you just give access or login credentials to only the people that you want, and you define what kind of rules and permissions they have. So that is already solving quite a lot of issues for people who store sensitive
amazing again
information.
how quickly you set up those permissions and things, and you can imagine in different apps that you're building, you know, how you would configure that. Can you build offline apps for iOS or Android?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't at the moment. You can't build native apps. What you can build is apps which also look and work good on mobile. We try to be really good on the responsive side, maybe in the future, but not at the moment.
Okay, maybe there'll be an announcement at some point about that. Yeah. And there was, this one kind of leads on from the Airtable question earlier, but I think it's an important question because, you know, with all of these things, we're talking about platforms, you know, things like Software or Notion or Bubble, or all these things. There's a degree of kind of, you know, lock-in, not just for people building on Software, but also, you know, you building on top of Airtable. And, you know, so Airtable recently introduced like an interface designer. So, you know, are you feeling kind of competitive sort of elements between you and Airtable just now, or is it kind of quite a sort of helpful relationship that you have with them?
Well, we don't have any like special relationship with them. We're just using their API to build an application using Airtable as a backend. So in reality, we don't see it's not really competitive. We don't see them as competitors. First, because Software, our goal is to be data agnostic. So what we are trying to do is allow people connecting to all of their different data sources as possible. I mean, as you can imagine, most of the companies, they don't just use Airtable, right? They have so many data storages, and the data is scattered across everywhere. So we want to be the hub where everyone can connect their data and visualize and create apps on top of that. And second, also the current, even at least the current version that Airtable provides, still there's two kind of main things related to that. Is that first, all the users that you have in the application, in this interface, they have to be Airtable users first of all, right? Which is not always the case. If you're building a marketplace, community, or any other customer facing app, you don't want your customers to be part of your Airtable base, right? That's most of the time not the case. And the second part as well, it's like the interface they have is great. It's a great addition to the entire ecosystem, especially for people building internally, kind of very internal, deep level tools that might be very useful, but also it's still quite basic. Of course, they might be evolving that for sure, but there is not really granular control in terms of permissions, user groups, etc. This is something we already offer. But again, there is so many like differences. There is, of course, some overlap in some of the use cases, but we again do not kind of see them as competitors just because of all the points I just mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Maybe one day they buy you, right? You know,
well, that's not our end goal.
Okay. Cool. Well, let me ask you one last broad question, and then we'll let these lovely people go and eat. But what makes you optimistic about the future of NoCode?
Good question. Well, I think I mean just even the event that you have organized already shows there is such a huge interest and demand for just generally people wanting to build stuff, right? I mean, everyone is creative. People now, I think the world is unfair that actually everyone has to rely on engineering resources to build applications and to build anything. And there's so many people outside organizations even, especially, that want to start businesses. They have lots of different ideas, but they just can't realize them. And I think that's where the world is missing out on the biggest creative talent, right? And just also looking at, I mean, I have been hiring hundreds of engineers in my previous jobs, and just seeing the scarcity of engineering talent, and also knowing how difficult it is to become an engineer, right? Or to learn how to code. I just don't believe that everyone is going to become a coder at some point. Of course, like there's some basic coding skills that you can have still, but there is so many other aspects alongside coding or related to your application building that is just like insanely complex. So I think that just having said that, there's just huge demand. It's just impossible right now for tech companies to scale, to go beyond, and to even automate some of the stuff they have. So currently, a lot of people are still stuck in the old era. And I think it's just naturally the next step of, it's the next step of abstraction of the software building.
Awesome. Okay, that was very well summed up, actually. Thank you so much. Can we have a round of applause for Mariam, please? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Hopefully, this was helpful, and feel free to chat with Sam. I think he can share a lot more details.
Yeah, form an orderly queue to speak to Mr. Software in Scotland.
Exactly.
But listen, thank you so much, Mariam.